Imagine for a second you're alone in the bathroom at midnight, the mirror fogged up with steam, and you hear your name whispered, not from outside, but from inside the drain, as if something evil and icy is crawling up through the pipes, waiting to pull you down. What if I told you this isn't just a childish legend? That the blonde in the bathroom is real, rooted in bloody tragedies that still echo in abandoned schools, haunted buildings and cursed houses. This is Corvena, and today I reveal 3 tales of the blonde in the bathroom. Subscribe now to uncover more secrets hidden in the dark. Do the ritual of hitting. Are you ready? Because she might be listening. I was just a 12-year-old kid when it all started, in that old school in the countryside of São Paulo, where the bathrooms reeked of mold and accumulated despair. The air inside was always damp, as if the walls wept invisible drops, and the silence was the worst. It settled in your ears like a low hum, broken only by the distant echo of laughter from the courtyard. I didn't believe in legends, not at all. My mother, a tough woman who worked as a janitor at the same school, always said, "That nonsense is for people with too much time, son. The real horror is life itself." But on that rainy afternoon in 1998, I learned how wrong she was. It was recess, and my friends, Pedro, skinny as a twig, and Anna, who loved to brag about her bravery, were with me. She challenged us. "Let's summon the blonde in the bathroom. They say if you knock 3 times on the last stall door and say, 'Maria Augusta, appear,' she shows up in the mirror." I laughed, but something in the pit of my stomach churned, like my lunch had suddenly gone sour. The boys' bathroom was a maze of cracked tiles with flickering lights like tired eyes. We went in, the smell of stale urine mixed with bleach hitting me like a punch. Pedro went first, knocking on the door with his knuckles. "Maria Augusta, appear!" Nothing. Inna laughed, but her laugh sounded forced, echoing off the walls like a stifled cry. Then it was my turn. I knocked, feeling the damp wood under my fingers, and called her name. The mirror fogged up suddenly, as if someone was breathing on the other side. We waited, hearts pounding, but only silence answered. We ran out, laughing nervously, thinking it was just our imagination. But that night, at home, the nightmare truly began. I lived in a simple little house, with a tiny bathroom in the backyard, the kind you avoid at night because the wind howls through the door's gaps. I woke up sweating cold around 3 a.m., my bladder pressing like something was squeezing it from inside. The hallway was dark, the wooden floor creaking under my bare feet, each step echoing like a warning. I entered the bathroom, flicking on the weak light that flickered on the ceiling. The mirror was there, stained with old droplets, reflecting my pale face. I washed my hands, feeling the icy water run over my fingers, but then a sound, a rhythmic dripping. Not from the faucet, but from somewhere behind the wall. It sounded like a finger tapping on glass. I looked at the mirror and swear to God, my reflection blinked before I did. It wasn't me. The eyes were the same, brown and scared, but the smile. It stretched slowly, revealing yellowish teeth that weren't mine. My heart raced, a chill crawling up my spine like invisible spiders. "You called me," whispered a voice low and hoarse, as if it came from the drain. I froze, the air growing thick, smelling of cheap lotion and rot. I tried to run, but the door jammed, the latch spinning on its own. In the mirror, the reflection changed. My dark hair turned platinum blonde, tangled like dead seaweed. And the face, pale, with blue veins pulsing under translucent skin. "I'm Maria Augusta," she said, her voice now echoing in my head. "The girl they drowned in the school bathroom in 1950 over jealousy for a forbidden love. Do you think legends die?" I pounded on the door, screaming for my mum, but the sound came out muffled, like the bathroom was a sealed coffin. The smell worsened, a stench of rotting flesh mixed with spoiled floral perfume. I felt cold hands touch my back, bony fingers tracing my spine. "Stay with me," she pleaded, but it was a command laced with ancient rage. The days that followed were a waking hell. I saw blonde reflections in every puddle, in fogged-up windows, even in my mom's car rearview mirror. Pedro stopped talking at school, muttering about seeing a blonde woman in his dreams, crying blood. Anna disappeared for a week, found wandering the streets, babbling about eyes in the mirror. Indeed, I started researching in secret, flipping through old newspapers in the city library. I found a yellowed article from 1950. Teen found dead in school bathroom, accidental drowning or crime of passion. Maria Augusta Oliveira, 17, blonde and beautiful, secret girlfriend of a married teacher. They said the wife found out and, well, the rest was whispers. A quote from a letter found on her body haunted me. "Love is like running water. It drags you down if you don't know how to swim." From an old horror book she read, Shadows in the Mirror, by a forgotten author. But the worst came at night. I avoided bathrooms, but the body betrays you, doesn't it? One early morning, I went back to the school bathroom, forced by urgency. The mirror was clean, but as I washed my face, the water heated up on its own, burning my skin. I looked, and there she was, not in the reflection, but behind me, real as flesh and bone. Her empty eyes filled with black tears, and her outstretched hands dripping foul water. "You summon me. Now I take you." I ran, but I tripped, hitting my head. I woke up in the hospital, my mom crying by my side. "It was an accident, son, you slipped." But I know the truth. She let me live to spread her story like a virus. Years later, as an adult, I returned to that abandoned school. The bathroom was still there, covered in dust. In the cracked mirror, I scratched my name. But as I left, I heard the dripping again. I looked back and saw my own reflection, blonde now, smiling at me. She didn't take me. She made me part of her. Story 2. Have you ever felt an emptiness you can't explain, like something's watching you from a corner you can't see? I have. And after what I went through, I never enter a public bathroom without checking the mirrors twice. My name is Patricia, and this happened in 2013 in a commercial building in downtown Recife, where I worked as a receptionist. It was an old building, with elevators that creaked like old bones and corridors that seemed to swallow the light. The third-floor bathroom was the most feared by the staff, not because it was dirty, it was spotless, with white tiles gleaming under fluorescent lights. But something was off. The air felt heavier, like it carried an unspoken secret. The faucets dripped even when turned off, and the mirrors, they always seemed fogged no matter how often they were cleaned. I avoided that bathroom, but sometimes, at the end of a shift when the building was empty, I had no choice. And it was on one of those nights that she found me. It was a Friday, past 8 p.m. I stayed late finishing a report, the office silence broken only by the hum of the air conditioning. My colleagues had left, and the security guard, Mr. Manuel, was at the front desk, probably dozing. My bladder started to ache, and the third-floor bathroom was the closest. I took the elevator down, my stomach churning, whether from hunger or an unexplainable dread. When I entered the bathroom, the smell hit me first, a mix of disinfectant and something sweet and rotten, like wilted flowers forgotten in a vase. I turned on the light, and the neon flickered before settling, casting shadows that danced on the tiles. I went to the sink, washed my hands, avoiding the mirror. My mom, who grew up in the countryside, always said, "Never look into your reflection's eyes at night, Patricia. There are things living on the other side." I thought it was superstition, but that night, something made me obey. I finished quickly and was drying my hands when I heard it. A whisper, low, almost inaudible, like it came from inside the walls. Patricia, my name. My heart stopped for a second, the paper towel falling to the floor. The bathroom was empty, the stall doors closed, but the whisper came again, clearer. Patricia, help me. It was a young woman's voice, heavy with pain, as if each syllable hurt to say. I ran to the door, but the latch seemed stuck, spinning uselessly. Panic clawed up my throat, and then the mirror fogged, as if a hot breath touched it. Against every instinct I looked. In the reflection, I saw a woman. Blonde hair, long and wet, plastered to her face like she'd crawled out of a lake. Her skin was pale, almost blue, with deep, dark circles like holes. Her eyes... God, her eyes were white, no pupils, but I felt them staring at me. She opened her mouth, and a dark, viscous liquid dripped from the corners, pooling on the floor. "You've seen me before, haven't you?" she said, her voice now echoing inside my head, like she was speaking directly to my thoughts. I trembled, remembering a recurring childhood nightmare, a blonde woman pulling me into a mirror, her ice-cold hands gripping my wrists. I always thought it was just a dream, but now... "You were a child when you called me at school," she continued, "and now you've found me again." My stomach froze. I vaguely remembered playing at summoning the blonde in the bathroom at 10 years old, in a school in Olinda, knocking 3 times on the stall, saying her name. But it was just a game, right or not. I ran to the stalls, banging on the doors, screaming for help, but the sound seemed swallowed by the bathroom. The dripping grew louder, now joined by the sound of nails scratching tiles. "You can't escape me, Patricia. I'm what's left." I looked at the mirror again, and she was closer, now outside the reflection, standing in the corner of the bathroom. Her white dress was stained red, torn, and her bare feet left wet footprints on the floor. The stench of rot became unbearable, mixed with a floral perfume that burned my nostrils. "I was like you," she whispered. "I worked here, loved someone I shouldn't have. They locked me in this bathroom, drowned me in the sink. My name was Livia, but the legend, it blends us all." I fell to my knees, my legs weak as she approached, her hair dripping dirty water onto my face. "You called me, now help me get out." Desperate, I remembered a story my grandmother told about appeasing spirits with promises. "I'll tell your story, Livia. I'll make people know," I screamed, tears streaming down. She stopped, tilting her head as if weighing my soul. The door's latch gave way, and I ran, stumbling through the corridor to the elevator. When I reached the front desk, Mr. Manuel looked at me, confused. "Patricia, you're white as a sheet. What happened?" I didn't answer, just ran to the street, the echo of the dripping still in my ears. I researched later. I found a 1987 article buried in a local newspaper's archives. "Employee found dead in office bathroom, suicide or murder. Livia Mendez, 24, blonde receptionist." The article hinted at an affair with a married boss, but no one was arrested. A line from a letter found in her pocket stuck with me. "Love is a mirror. It reflects what you want, but traps you in what you fear." It sounded like something from a gothic horror story, but it was real. I returned to the building weeks later, forced by my job, but never went back to that bathroom. I still hear my name sometimes in dreams and see blonde reflections in dark windows. Months later, my boss handed me an old photo of the building from the 80s. There was Livia, smiling at the reception desk. Next to her, a girl identical to me, but I never knew her. My mum swears she never worked in that building. So who was that in the photo? I never thought an inheritance could be a curse disguised as a gift, but that's exactly what happened to me in 2021. In an old house in the suburbs of Porto Alegre, where the southern wind howls like lost souls on winter nights. My name is Eduardo, and I was a practical man, the kind who believes in facts, not ghosts. My great-aunt, a reclusive woman named Helena, died at 92, leaving me her dilapidated house and everything in it. "Beware of the attic bathroom," said the letter that came with the will, written in shaky handwriting. "Some things reflect more than they should." I laughed, thinking it was the ramblings of old age. The house smelled of dust and mothballs, with furniture covered in yellowish sheets like shrouds. The attic bathroom was the worst. Chipped tiles, a rusted bathtub, and a huge mirror, cracked in the center as if something had hit it from the inside. The air there was cold, even in summer, and the silence oppressive, broken only by an intermittent drip from the faucet, like tears falling in a slow rhythm. I decided to renovate the place to sell it, but on the first night I spent there, alone, the terror began to unravel like an invisible web. It was nighttime when I went up to the attic to sort through old boxes. The bathroom was in the corner, its door ajar, creaking in the draft. I felt a sudden urge, like my body was being pulled there. I entered, turning on the bare bulb hanging from the ceiling, flickering like an irritated eye. The mirror stared back, my reflection distorted by the crack, splitting my face in two. One normal, the other twisted, with a smile I didn't make. I washed my face, the water coming out brown at first, like it carried years of grime. When I looked up, I saw something in the reflection. A blonde shadow behind me, standing at the doorway. My heart raced, a chill crawling up my arms like icy ants. I turned quickly. Nothing, just the dark void of the attic. But then the smell came. A sweet, spoiled perfume mixed with the stench of stagnant water and something metallic, like blood. "Eduardo," whispered a voice, feminine and low, echoing not in the air, but in my mind, like an implanted thought. I froze, my hands trembling on the sink. "You inherited more than the house." I looked at the mirror again, and there she was. A blonde woman, her disheveled hair falling over empty eyes, her mouth open in a silent scream. Her skin was white as sour milk, veins pulsing faintly in her neck. She reached out, touching the glass from the other side, and I swear I felt a chill on my own arm, like the touch had crossed over. I ran out, locking the attic door, but the whisper continued in my head all night, telling me pieces of a story I didn't want to hear. "I was your great-grandfather's fiancée," she said in the dreams that followed, blonde and naive, brought from Europe in 1920. He promised me love, but locked me in the attic when he discovered my madness. Visions I had, reflections that lied. I woke up sweating, my heart pounding, and went to the kitchen, but even there the dripping echoed like the whole house was one giant bathroom. In the days that followed, I started digging through boxes in the basement. I found my great-aunt's old diaries, yellowed pages filled with frantic scribbles. "The blonde isn't a legend. She's family," she wrote. "Her name is Isabella, drowned in the attic bathroom out of jealousy in 1935. Her reflection lives, waiting for heirs to possess. Mirrors are doors for broken souls. Stare too long, and you become the reflection." The worst were the photos. A sepia image of Isabella, blonde and smiling, identical to the woman in the mirror. And next to her, my great-grandfather, with eyes that looked like mine. The tension grew like a fever. I saw blonde strands in the bathtub drain, heard nails scratching glass at night. Once, while showering, the water heated up on its own, burning my skin, and in the mirror's steam, words appeared. "Inherit me." I started doubting my sanity, seeing blonde reflections in every surface. The car, the turned-off TV, even in people's eyes on the street. I called a priest, desperate, thinking it was possession. An elderly man came, his crucifix trembling in his hands. "This isn't a demon, son," he muttered after a prayer in the attic. "It's a soul trapped in a family tragedy. Your great-grandfather killed her, drowning her to hide the scandal. She was pregnant with another's child." The exorcism failed. The mirror cracked further, and the priest ran out, babbling about eyes that follow. That night, the climax came. I went to the attic, armed with a hammer, determined to smash the mirror. The bathroom was dark, but the reflection glowed with its own light. She was there, more real, stepping out of the glass, her hands dripping black water. "You're the last heir," she whispered, the stench of decay suffocating. Free me or join me. I raised the hammer, but my arm stopped midair, held by an invisible force. My reflection changed, my hair darkening to blonde, my eyes leaking black tears. I'm you now. I smashed the mirror, shards flying like deadly confetti. The house shook and I fell, cut and bleeding. I woke up in the hospital, doctors saying it was a nervous breakdown, stress-induced hallucinations. But when I returned to the house, I found my great-aunt's true will hidden. Eduardo, you're not my great-nephew by blood. Your mother lied. You're Isabella's descendant, the bastard child who survived. I inherited not just the house, but the ghost in my DNA. Now every time I look in a mirror, I see one more blonde strand in my hair. She didn't kill me, she transformed me. She's my mother. These three blonde in the bathroom stories aren't just echoes of old legends. They're warnings whispered in the dark, roots of real tragedies entwined with your reflection. Does that give you chills? Well, this is just the start. In the next video, we dive into even darker mysteries. Don't miss it, subscribe now, hit the bell and comment blonde if you feel she's listening. Because the terror doesn't end when the video stops, it follows you home.